Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once more to some more FACEIT League playoffs. Had a bit of a scenario, I'll say, in our last matchup, but we do know how that game has essentially gone. It's looking like Goodfellas is going to take that in 3-0 fashion against Pumas. Ended up being a decently close affair, honestly, from what we managed to see. So, all well and good there. But this is the game that is going to draw a lot of curiosity to me. Young and Beautiful taking on Zokorp, a.k.a. the former Daystar, a.k.a. as they have been a couple of names at this stage of the game. But right now, they're Zokorp. This has been two very consistent teams throughout the entire season, and Dex, you brought this up earlier, which I had to remember. This is a rematch of the Grand Finals from last season, a game which, by the way, went all 7 maps.
Yeah, I mean, these are two teams that probably did not get the results they were looking for in the regular season here this season for FACEIT, considering last season, they were really good teams that it kind of were expected to make runs as far as they did. Now, though, they are easily what is considered to be middle-of-the-pack teams. This is the 4v5 matchup. So these are the two teams that should be the closest in this bracket. And Hunter, from what we've been able to see from these two teams throughout the season, I mean, it's not like they've been playing bad. It's just they've had bad results here and there, which, hey, the NA Masters tier has been as competitive, even a little bit more competitive than what we saw last season, considering, hell, there's only one team that was only able to have 1 loss. Outside of that, everyone else that made playoffs has at least 3.
Yeah, that's kind of the situation. And I mean, Daystar, obviously Zokorp in the situation, ended up going 11-4. Young and Beautiful went 10-5, which puts them in a very interesting situation because all of them, or I should say both of them in this instance, ended up losing, I believe, to all the top 3 teams above them. Which, obviously, extremely interesting situation. It's a scenario we see before where it's like, hey, you beat who you're supposed to beat, you lost who you're supposed to lose to. But again, these were the top 2 teams last season who ultimately had to go both and beat Emote down mid, who is, again, in the playoffs, not nearly as strongly as before, but they are indeed here. But we get to focus on some other matchups throughout the day. Bootrup Kintsugi got Midori taking on Iliad Artemis, and then Elements of Harmony taking on Emote down mid. And obviously, we'll report as those go on, but what we gotta do is we gotta talk about the match in front of us, and what our first map is, and with there being a new map pool, it comes with some new faces.
Hey, I like that we're seeing Samoa, one of the new maps in this map pool here for playoffs. I like that we're seeing this happen really quickly here. These teams want to try to maybe have a one-up advantage on the other teams, because as a lot of teams and as a lot of players might have spoken their, I'm going to say, displeasure with the fact that the playoff map pool is a little bit different than regular season map pool, only give themselves a week to really get themselves ready for it. There's definitely going to be some teams that haven't really scrimmed maybe all these new maps in here. Granted, I think most of the maps are new, so we might be seeing a lot of recurring maps from the regular season still be picked, but we're seeing, I believe, Daystar bring us to Samoa, and I like that. You really want to try to get Zokorp on the, you really want to try to be getting Young and Beautiful, on the other hand, on their toes here a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what you want to have here. You want to get them on their toes, and this is one of those matches that genuinely can go either way. I think that's honestly the case for all the games that we have going on here today for North America. Some maybe less so or more so than others, depending on certain situations. The meta is definitely stronger for particular teams, but Zokorp is in a very interesting situation, and mainly that's because one of the things that we've gotten to see through the later half of the season, and that's them with their 2-tank lineup that we have gotten to see. Pella sometimes ends up coming in situations where I believe it is Dion who is the other tank player as well. They got to come in and out. Pella played a lot of Ball, but obviously Ball, not as strong as it was a little while ago. I still think it's fairly strong, but it's not the thing that was like, I don't want to say must pick, but it was a very favored pick for a while, and it's kind of begun to fall back out.
I mean, hey, it was meta for a little bit, it falls back up, but that's Wrecking Ball. It has always been Wrecking Ball here. It'll be strongly considered meta for a little bit, and then you'll start to see teams adapt to want to shut down very, very hard, and normally a lot of time it works for them, and normally you see them go away from it. However, Samoa being our first map, Hunter, like I kind of talked about in South America, we're kind of in a little bit of a dive meta here now. It's fun to see it back, but Samoa, in my opinion, I don't really look at it truly as a dive map. Yeah, there's opportunities to do it. It is a control map. So yeah, you can play almost any composition, but this one might be one of those maps where dive necessarily isn't the way to go. However, with it being a dive meta, you might still see some teams try to force it, but we do know Kiriko was the first ban here. Whatever our second ban is, I think will kind of show us a little bit more about what these teams really want to play. But getting rid of Kiri here early on, Hunter, I always say it's a very safe ban, and I think that's what this ban really is.
Yeah, it's 100% a safe ban at this stage of the game. Kiriko can be used in a lot of different compositions, and obviously used in a lot of those quicker compositions, whether it's the Brawl or the Rush. Now, if you're still doing things like the Brawl or the Rush, you could very easily substitute in like a Baptiste, which is still a fairly strong character, or maybe teams are going to go back down that traditional dive route that has been very strong lately, and just throw the Ana Break into the back, which we have also seen a fair amount. So it's one of those duos that never really fully goes away, always has its strength, are a perfect fit for each other. God help the person that came up with that support duo, by the way. But we'll see what ends up being the case as we're waiting for lineups to finalize, make sure everybody is where they want to be, as it doesn't look like we're seeing any changes on the side of Daystar. Dion going to stay in as tank. As we do know the second ban, it is going to be Venture.
And hey, you're talking about support lineups here, especially going into playoffs here. We have to stress this. Wuyong is now available here in FACEIT. FACEIT League. In OWCS, Wuyong was available from the get-go, but because FACEIT League was halfway through its season when Wuyong was introduced to the game, they decided to keep our newest hero out of play until playoffs. So right now, that's going to be something that we probably see very early on here, our newest waterbender support. So it's going to be really interesting to see if these teams have necessarily been practicing for that, because Hunter, you really have to believe that these teams have fully been preparing themselves for Wuyong, considering how, and some people say, busted that hero is.
No, I mean, Wuyong is incredibly strong right now. You're going to see it come out a fair amount. You're going to see it be banned several times throughout the playoffs. It's simply what's going to happen. So these teams are going to go into the situation, well, knowing that they're likely both going to want to indulge in the situation. But we'll see how both of these teams want to get going out the gate. Anyun in for that support line on this one. ASC Design been very consistent throughout the season, and that Zarya is a character we didn't bring up yet, but has become, I think, a top 3 tank in a lot of eyes. Really consistent. You pair that up with something like a Reaper or even a Venture, which Venture out makes a lot of sense here, because that two as a duo, honestly, it's a menace to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I've said, Hunter, Zarya has always kind of been one of those fringe tank players, not necessarily completely out of the meta, but not necessarily in it. Right now, you can really make the argument that Zarya, maybe for the first time in Overwatch 2, is truly a part of the meta and in the conversation for a lot of these teams. But on the other side here, you do see Zokorp coming out here with the Wrecking Ball. Still a very strong hero at the moment. Nothing on the other side necessarily to really slow it down, so it's going to be a problem here right now, I think, for Young and Beautiful.
No, it's 100% going to be a bit of a problem. Pella and Kiwi in that on a breakback, or not on a breakback lane, on a Wuyong backline, which is something that has, I've seen a couple of times to varying levels of success. You see right now a little bit of chaos in the background. Alex taken out very quickly by Pella. A lot of chaos can come through over on the side of that, is manually hoping to clear away the point. And realistically, first cap should be able to come through here. Ends up being a really good start here for Young and Beautiful. Perfect. Either way, Dex, you're muted, by the way. You are definitely muted, good sir. He's going to figure out his situation as we're going to get into this one once again. I meant to say Zokorp, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, as they're getting this going, but Azruff already being taken care of by manually. Going for another power drive is Pella, hoping to clear everybody out from the point, and now you got to see it once again. Young and Beautiful running for the hills.
Right now, Young and Beautiful, they're just kind of getting stuffed by this Wrecking Ball competition. And I like what they're doing here. Going over to the D.Va, a really good slowdown hero for this Wrecking Ball, and now Pella has to kind of change everything. Anya and Azruff making swaps as well, going over to the Freya and the Moira. In my opinion, this is all just to try to slow down Pella, who's just been doing what they want to do on their own, because look how separated they're playing from the rest of their team.
Oh no, incredibly separated, all things considered. But we get into this one. Knocked out of mech as ASC Design super early on. Power drive onto Azruff. They're taking care of it right now. Pella is having a field day, 60% and counting already. You see Anyun having to get out of there. Likely going to get chased down. 100% will. Another reset. Neptune is barely getting out of there alive as well. As a matter of fact, still getting chased, as all 5 ultimates going to be online, as this is a good start as ever here.
Azruff going over to the Sombra right now, which is not as much of a counter to ball as it was at one point here. Venture's kind of been the go-to, but right now they seem to be Pella's, or that seems to be Pella's main problem. However, like you said, 5 ultimates about to be ready here for Zokorp. Hunter, this is modified territory, and I love the mine placements really cutting off. A great way to get the point.
Yeah, but DPS are able to get over on the point. Pulse Bomb eaten by AST Design. So now Talisman not going to get any of that real value. Now only 2 ultimates left on their side. Azra struggling to stay alive a little bit here as Bolo Shot thrown in. Onyun gets soloed out in that situation. Now Alex throws out that Pulse Bomb. Not going to find a whole lot, and it's going to be a cleared out situation. And ladies and gentlemen, if you came into this game and decided, hey, I'm a pretty big fan of Zokorp, well, you must be pretty darn happy.
Yeah, I mean, Zokorp, formerly Daystar, I mean, we knew this team was good. Their regular season standings towards the end doesn't necessarily show how good this team was. And they are really showing us a lot here right now. Like I kind of always talk about, Hunter, with Wrecking Ball competitions, what do I call them? I call them chaos comps, because that's all that Wrecking Ball truly does. Causes a lot of chaos. And it's only the good teams that are able to really deal with it that are able to actually figure out how to slow it down. Hella, that first map, I don't believe died. Really, actually, yeah,
nobody died.
0 Elins on the other side there for Young and Beautiful. Not the start that they're really looking for here, but I mean, it all comes down to them being able to shut down Pella. I think AST Design going over to this Diva will help, but you need a little bit more from that. You already see Azra going over to, I believe, maybe their 3rd, 4th DPS character of the game, but Neptune found Talisman out early is exactly what you need here from Young and Beautiful.
Yeah, 100% what you need to get this going, trying to take your first fight win of the series. Azra, though, literally getting bulldozed away, eventually gets a little bit of care at the last possible second. As Young and Beautiful able to group together, still getting pot-shotted away by Graveyard and manually as point open up. You're able to stall a ton if you're Pella, and every single time Azra peeks through that corner, they're getting shot at. And at this stage of the game, Zokorp has fully come back together. Oh, never mind.
Alex Manley out huge here, but still you have Pella alive and kicking and that backline alive and kicking as well. That's exactly what you need here for this Zokorp kind of composition, but losing Graveyard, it's going to really affect how this team plays, especially losing, well, both Kiwi and Pella. You're starting to see everyone now for Zokorp find their first deaths here this game, as it seems like maybe, potentially, Young and Beautiful has been able to settle themselves down, get this first cap here, and you already see Azra going over onto this Cassidy now. 82% and counting to a Deadeye. They're in a really good spot. Manly, though, it's going to have a bullet here ready to go soon, Hunter, but watch out for AST. That's a really easy ultimate to just gobble up.
No, it 100% is, so you have to be very careful. Use your defense matrix a little bit more sparingly. You got to try to hold on to it, make it a little more pressure to use manually. Nearly gets one clipped, and Azra is able to finish them off. So now, manually haven't hit the big old reset button here. 4v5 curling in place. Talisman, though, hoping to turn that around, but Ally still falling at their feet. Pella running for the hill as Deadeye did get used. I don't think it really found anything. Yeah, honestly, that might have been for the reload, honestly.
Always an interesting strategy when you see that come out, especially because, hey, it could have been able to buy some space. I just think, like you said, it was used for the reload here, but you look at Zokorp here coming up to all 5 of their ultimates, but you've already seen 1, now 2 invested from the side of Young and Beautiful, but it's finding value.
Yeah, it sure is. Alex has already gotten rid of 2, and now 60% on the board. It's like we've had a role reversal as, honestly, 60-some percentage, the way things are right now, I would consider this final fight territory.
Especially, yeah. I mean, you have Bomb, you have Wu Yang's ultimate coming up, you have Pulse Bomb. Those are 3 really good ultimates coming up here, but on the other side, outside of manually now going over to the cast themselves, you're going to have 4 good ultimates here. However, Bomb could be really used just to clear out Minefield, but there goes the ultimate out onto, I believe, AST.
Yeah, nobody goes down as a result. Definitely caused a lot of disruption at this point. Looking to flip over, and it might flip over for 3. Eventually, Onyun trying to run for the hills, as yes, the flip does come essentially for, well, I wouldn't say fully for free, but the way ults are trading, honestly, might feel like that at that point. Pulse Bomb thrown out, unfortunately, doesn't get on the AST. Gonna stay alive, but unfortunately for them, it's not really gonna matter. They just gotta run for the hills, try not to get DMAC, because if they do, it is not gonna be a fun time. And in fact, you might see AST Design, yep, just fall off the map, take the reset, don't risk the DMAC.
Going for a little bit of a swim right there, but yeah, I like this reset. You don't want to lose the DMAC. You don't want to stall out any more time than what you're already giving up here. Kiwi has the only ultimate ready on the board, but Azra's not that far away from another Deadeye. Let's see if it actually gets value this time around, because truly, Hunter, there's nothing on the other side that can really deny a Deadeye from at least finding 1 pick here. But this could be the problem, I think, for Young and Beautiful, just being able to find a way back in. Pella should just be able to do whatever they want in that backline now. Again, that Zokorp has control of the point, and you have two really good flanking DPS characters on your team.
Yeah, you see Kiwi immediately go and visit their DPS over on the side. You want to stay around manually, have a little more defense. AC Design, though, nearly taken out of their mech. Assassin, again, gonna have it done. This time is gonna hold it forward, get slept out. The DM does not help, and teed away. And unfortunately, AC Design knocked out of the mech, doesn't have a bomb. Keep them going as AC Design, I think, just needs to go and take another swim, honestly.
Yeah, running for the hills right here or running for the coast might be the way to go, and that's exactly what they're doing, and no one from Zokorp is going to stop them. A really good play right there by him, and now Hunter, we were just talking about Young and Beautiful looking really good, but now the Nano infested, we are touching spawn doors!
Yeah, this is the Overwatch of all time, ladies and gentlemen, and this is Final Fight. This should really stay decided, but you've got the Mines, you've got the Deadeye. You've got 4 ultimates going into this fight. Neptune might get it. Alex might get it. Onion might get it. But the problem is, it's going to be so difficult to deal with as they got to try to go and touch this point. Neptune cut off from the rest of the team. Sitting so close. Getting pressured to hell and high water, but you're being to trade out both ways. Deadeye being effectively used here. Hoping to find a little something, something. Eventually, Neptune's got to go in. Hit the beat. Is right there. Eventually catches on. Azure doesn't get it, though. It's just Neptune and Onion, and all they can do is just to roll this ultimate out to somebody, and it is a prayer at this stage of the game, trying to go in. Will get rid of Talisman, so they're still alive. Alex is trying to make it back, and honestly, this is amazing stall by the support duo.
Yeah, they're doing just enough here to allow the rest of the team to get back, and now you've seen the swaps over there as well. Graver, though, getting invested ultimate here on the Pella, but the hacks are now coming out. Kiwi, though, with the huge pick on the Alex.
Yep, still trading back and forth. Hack over onto Pella, who's doing a really good job staying alive. Has plenty of care still as they're hoping to stabilize, hoping to finish this map up here. Nano being thrown over, and for manually, that's going to be enough to close the book on map number 1, 2-0 in favor of the Daystar, a.k.a. Zokorp. But at the end of the day, ends up being really back and forth at the end, but it's still an incredibly strong start for this squad.
Yeah, incredibly strong start for the squad, especially for Zokorp here, who, I mean, they had a really good start. Young and Beautiful, though, they had a slow start. Let's be honest about that there. That first point, Zokorp had every answer, while Young and Beautiful, man, they are trying something. They are trying stuff. It just never worked out. Going over to downtown, though, it worked out a lot better for them. They made the right swaps. I think the cast swap from Young and Beautiful really did help them out a lot, at least being able to slow down Pella, who was kind of being a little bit of a menace there from what we were seeing. But again, I mean, we talked about it. Zokorp had 0 deaths after map 1. It really started to even out there, but Pella being able to only die that one time in that first fight, I think was a big difference maker there for Zokorp. And throughout the rest of that map, I mean, we talked about it. It's a chaos kind of composition when you see Wrecking Ball come out. And Young and Beautiful, it took them a little bit to figure it out, but once they gave up control of the point, that was the moment where I was really, really worried about Young and Beautiful in that map, because Zokorp really seemed to know how to make Young and Beautiful's life a living hell when they were in control.
No, they 100% did, and they were doing a really good job at it, especially from the beginning, to the point where Young and Beautiful early on didn't really know what they wanted to come out and run after that first fight or two went wrong. And I feel like this is going to be a series of that, of them having to try new things and eventually finding something that is going to stick to the wall. Because Daystar, again, is a really tough team. They're a super consistent team. And I'm going to keep saying Daystar because it's the name that's put in front of my screen, but we know there's Zokorp. We all know what this team is. But at the end of the day, Young and Beautiful get to decide where we go. They're taking us over to Kings Row. Things are going to become linear in this situation. And while this does open up to a lot of different comps, this is where you're going to see Brawl be able to take some level of precedent. Whether that comes from, honestly, I think a majority of the Brawl takes are still very viable. Whether it is something like the Orisa, whether it's the Mauga, even the Ramatra that's still getting a decent amount of playtime, or you could even go and bring back out a Zarya, which, again, has been really strong, and this time around, you don't got to worry about Adventure being banned.
Yeah, or Kiriko being banned either, which could open up to some other stuff here. I think Young and Beautiful, an over-exaggeration ban here would be Wrecking Ball. Well, this is an okay Wrecking Ball map. I don't think it's necessarily the best, so you leave it on the table mostly just to see if maybe Zokorp will take the bait and try to run it here. But I think Ball really does struggle on this map because of what you and Nora talk about being, hey, really good options for it, being close corridors, really tall buildings, really good grapple spots. But I just don't think Kings Row is necessarily the best option for Wrecking Ball. However, I've been proven wrong several times before here, but Young and Beautiful has the first ban here. I think if you want to get rid of something here, you go after Cassidy. But no, it's actually going to be Ramatra.
Yeah,
Wow.
yep, getting rid of a brawl tank here. I don't know if I 100% agree with the situation at hand. However, these teams have faced each other before throughout the regular season. They were able to see VODs on each other of their most recent matchups, and obviously both understand the meta. Honestly, these teams understand the meta better than we do right now, specifically because these teams have had to wait a little while, and that affects the situation where it's like, it is different from when a hero is available day one versus, hey, 2 or 3 weeks go by and something new is figured out. Maybe you put something different with the Wuyong. Maybe a certain tank works better. We see a lot of the times where that ultimate gets thrown on something like a Tracer, but you could also get away with it on something like a Winston or a Ball or a Hazard, where that could still get a lot of value.
Yeah, absolutely here. But I think the interesting thing that we have to be looking at here, especially as we get ready to go into this map, does Pella stay in here for Zokorp? If Dion comes back in, you have to imagine that that's going to kind of show us they're going to move a little bit away from maybe the Wrecking Ball dive kind of play style and go over to something a little bit more brawly, because that's normally what we have been seeing Dion play, has been those other type of tank roles outside of Wrecking Ball and mostly dive heroes.
Yeah, that kind of has been the case thus far. And I don't know how much it's realistically going to change in this situation. I'm waiting to see lineups finalizing. By the looks of it, there's not really any changes, but the other character taking out Lucio, which, again, this says that they don't really want to deal with the Lucio. This might fall back into the territory of Wuyong Ana, which honestly was having a lot of success in this situation, so I don't blame them in the slightest.
Yeah, and I mean, as we head in, it's going to be really interesting to just see what we see here, because Pella's still in, so that kind of shows us dive is going to be an option here for Zokorp, especially with this being not necessarily a brawl-heavy map anymore, but still, you really do expect to see brawl a lot. However, something like a Winston, something like a D.Va could work very well here. Hunter, I'm going to need to talk for a moment.
Okay, yeah, you do your thing, buddy. You do your thing. I'm swapping over to the things really quick so we can get this game rocking and rolling, as our good old partner in crime's got to quickly take care of something, but either way, we are getting this flipped over because obviously we got to get these bans in. We got to let y'all know what's being banned, what's being done here. And for the moment, coming out on these comms, as we'll show you momentarily, Pella is currently rocking the Winston. You love to see it. I love a little bit of Winston play in my life. There's a Winston in the bottom right of my screen every single time for a very good reason.
Yeah, and like I said, this is a dive. This has become almost an everything map. While you normally want to see kind of brawl come out here, Winston is very viable on this map now. It's very fun to see that. I think D.Va, though, is a little bit better, but still, you can find a lot of value with Winston. However, AST Design on the other side, showing us a Zarya that we kind of expected to see on this map. Zarya, this has been a really fun thing to see in the last couple, really months. Zarya get a lot more playtime, and this has become maybe one of her best maps.
100% has, and I'm excited to see what ends up coming to form here as we get this one started away. Again, Winston versus the Zarya. Honestly, a thing that sometimes plays advantage to the Winston, more often than not, as the Winston obviously is able to avoid them for the most part, as manually ends up getting taken down. Dive at the backline, going to be separating Neptune away, as Solsei is in over at DPS for this one, as Pella running for the hills, able to lift them on, but still has all the company in the world here. Bubble around the corner, unfortunately, can't be kept up, and now this might be a really quick takeover for Young and Beautiful.
It honestly should at this point, and all the momentum that Zokorp really had last map is kind of gone. I don't necessarily know if the Winston's going to be the right move here, but Pella's going to probably stick with it at least for one more fight, and it wouldn't surprise me to see potentially one late engage here, but no, they're just going to play for Archers instead. Like I kind of said, this is Zarya's one of Zarya's best maps now, and I think right now with how you're seeing AST play this Zarya, I think it's going to be really tough for Pella, or really almost anyone on the other side, to really try to go head-to-head, face-to-face with the Russian powerlifter.
Yeah, no, 100%. Excited to see how it ends up going down. Gotta try this out, that Zarya eventually. It's gonna be a little tough now that you're in this archway with a Winston, as Pella gets burnt away, has to hide back around the corner, nano thrown in, hoping to take somebody out. Unfortunately, too much care, but you do separate AST. They're taking care, manually gets rid of a second. On top of that, ends up being a very successful fight where Azeroth gets burnt away as well, but Anyun gets manual on the way out, and honestly, that pick is gonna be massive.
Yeah, no, honestly, this should just be a fallback here from Zokorp. The fact that they're still kind of staying pretty engaged in this fight is really interesting to me, considering they are down manually. But it kind of just shows you how Zokorp wants to play this. They're really playing for a lot, but like I said, Hunter, their right move was spin the fall back, give up a little space, and try for a fight again. Now that you lost Pella, where you give up arches, and really now you're holding for probably another fight around the second turn by the pub.
100%, and now he got, well, I was going to say double DPS ultimate, but Neptune wants to go in for this one. Doesn't really end up finding a whole lot, unfortunately, and it's Anti has to run for the hills, but now you have something that's very terrifying coming around the corner here. While Azref doesn't blow up, Azref does need to stay alive. I bet you will. There is a grab dragon combo around the corner. And to be fair, whether it gets used as fight or not, as you eventually see Pella, a little bit of targeted right here, ends up trying to take down Azref. Doesn't work out, but to be honest, everybody is in a rock and a hard place in this room as they are in a, they are in bad spots. Grab?
The grab.
They're gonna do it. They're gonna do it.
They're gonna do it. Oh my goodness! They find 4 with it. I thought that was a lost fight there for Young and Beautiful. With that, flips it on its head, and outside of Talisman being here to stall, it's gonna be very difficult now for Zokorp to get back out here and really get a true contest. Talisman's gonna have to do so much here.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, and now there is a touch set up here. We'll see who ends up coming to form. Gonna be able to go in for the top rope, looking for a pulse bomb. Connects onto the bubble. So ASD Design just got a bunch of power to work with here, but Neptune does end up going down to the dragon. Stabilization coming through. We heard right now that hack sound effect come into play right now as Pella back into the fight. Has a nano ready, so we should be able to see some stabilization here. So now, another 2.5 minutes to hold on.
And this is always one. This is one of those hardest points to get back to now. Really, if you're the attacking team, you have to make a long walk. You really need to invest ultimates. And granted, you do have continuous. You do have a pulse bomb that could really open a lot of doors up for you. But you have to be walking into this nano here from Kiwi. Pella back on the wrecking ball here. Like I said, you would normally expect this to be a map that I kind of think that Wrecking Ball will struggle on, but on the defensive side, I think Wrecking Ball's a little bit better than the offensive side, especially for street space here. AST though, already one bubble out and charged up a little bit, but now the nano on the Pella. It's all rolling ahead now, Hunter.
100% it is, but we are trading out already. Kiwi, I don't know if Kiwi got the nano out or not. I'll bring that up in a second.
It was on Pella.
Okay, perfect. But now Anyun trying to hang around in there. Pella is currently playing a hopscotch on the top rope. Hoping to find somebody with the Pella drive. Manages to hit momentarily on the Neptune, who has all the care in the world to work with. But manually, of all people, ends up being taken down first. Pella has to hang around, wait for mines to be set up, ends up hitting them in, I think, a pretty ideal area, causing a bunch of separation as Talisman goes in, doesn't connect onto anybody. Actually gets us onto Azref and follows them up. And now ASC Design goes for the solo grab, ends up getting a lot of Pella being kept up beautifully. This is an incredibly back and forth exchange as they try to go for this backline. Kiwi basically getting soloed by 2 different people, as it looks like ASC Design and Co., if they can get down Pella, they'll win this fight.
ASC, though, pretty low on health, and you still do have a decent amount of Zokorp members here right now, so this fight isn't necessarily over yet. Dragon's coming out. If they can find one or at least split up the team and find one off it could really put Zokorp back in control of this fight.
100% it could. Azref needs to try to find the killing blow here on a Talisman, but it's Solstice that goes down. Perfect recall. Pulse bomb comes out. No connection. Cleanse ends up being used to be able to keep them going. And now the stabilization starting to go back the other way. 45 seconds and counting. In this attack comes to a standstill. Pella does go down though.
Pella goes down, but you have gone enough here if you're Zokorp. AST is here as well, and it looks like they're pretty charged up, and now you have both your DPS ultimates here. If you are Young and Beautiful, you really need to be going fast with this here. You do not want to give time for Pella to get back, but Hunter, it's a little bit too late. Pella's back into the fray. Graveyard not that far away from their ultimate. There's the data out from Azref, who is getting bubbled.
Yeah, getting bubbled indeed as they're able to survive. Pella incredibly low. Someone's got a retouch. Unfortunately, it's at the cost of a life. No overtime to take over. 1:40 left on the clock here. Ultimate's going to be plentiful coming up here for Young and Beautiful.
But that was still a really good defensive hold there for Zokorp. I mean, you have to give them that. Getting it almost down to overtime there after essentially losing one fight on first point, you did your job there. Now, all you have to do is either get this, allow them to cap in overtime or stop them, which is really easier said than done, especially when you look at Young and Beautiful. About that 4 ultimates ready to go, and Hunter, yeah, when's the last time you saw a grab pulse bomb?
Yeah, it's been a hot minute, I'm not gonna lie. But it is on the menu right now. AFC Design does have to find a good target here. And you see everybody is kind of keeping separated. They don't want to have it be one big target where 3 people can get hit with one ultimate. That's why everybody's in different places right now. Pella sitting 1 as Graveyard hanging around, gonna dive to the back line, get a stun, but Pella has no care back there. So unfortunately, now Graveyard has to go run for the hills, doesn't have any care of their own. ASD Design, though, goes a little too far, ends up being taken out. It's mainly trying to hang around. Pulse Bomb goes out, Tailsman gets a second. This should have been an easy push here for Young and Beautiful, but to be honest, the stabilization should come through for Zokorp, as unfortunately, YAB got to back off.
And great on Zokorp in recognizing that ASC Design was maybe a little bit far pushed up. They didn't care that the bubbles were being invested by themselves there. They just decided to pop him and get rid of the and take the kill. Azrael though going to be able to find manually out here, but Pella trades him right back out here. Hunter, if you are Young and Beautiful here, you're trying to fall back and quickly regroup, but the Nano invests here onto Pella is going after Neptune.
100% it is, trying to survive if you are Graveyard as Neptune ends up going down. But still plenty of bodies on the car. Grass ends up coming through. Dragons being thrown around top of the ASC Design. Incredibly low. As Tailsman hoping to go in there, needs to find a Pulse Bomb to close this one out, but helps get rid of Onion, and now the stabilization comes through. DPS staying alive, keeping it going. A little victory Pulse Bomb as they will stop them just before the end of the map. Wasn't the cleanest start, but it was a beautiful finish.
Yeah, like I said, Zokorp, that second point hold, almost getting it all the way down to overtime, was the big difference there. I think if you give this Young and Beautiful squad another minute, you see them complete this map. I think Young and Beautiful also started to fall apart there at the end, and you could really attribute it to when Pella got that ultimate there from the Wu Yang. They played maybe a little bit too over-aggressive, but if you go back and look at it, all 4 members outside the tank actually peeled back to try to help get rid of Pella. That left ASC Design in a spot where they really couldn't do much. So they had to invest the bubbles on themselves, and that was one good thing that Zokorp did. They recognized that right away, got rid of ASC Design, and after that, got a couple of huge picks, I believe, from Talisman to really even out the playing field there, forcing Young and Beautiful to fall back. But now, coming out here on defense, I can see this Zarya anymore here for Young and Beautiful. Over to the Hazard, which I like it. While I would love to have seen Zarya on defense, I think Hazard is a little bit more sustainable of a tank, especially on the defensive side.
100% it is. And now, going back at the situation, manually and as sort of on the Hanzos, AC Design currently recognizing the situation, goes over to the Hazard, definitely going to be unique, which means Zarya, for the moment, not going to be on the menu, which you would say it would be surprising, but to be honest, that Zarya, I think, found less and less effectiveness as the series went on. So honestly, going to the Hazard, I don't blame the swap whatsoever.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. The Zarya, it's all kind of about keeping that momentum going, and once the Young Beautiful really struggled on that second point, the Zarya almost lost all of its value. I mean, you saw the grab they threw out there. It wasn't a grab where a lot of the team there for Young Beautiful was able to find a lot of value off of it. It was instead just a desperation grab, trying to find whatever they could with it, and just didn't lead too much here. Manually going over to this Freya, I like it, especially if they can find some nice shots on Azrael. That could really open up a lot here for them.
Yeah, 100% good. ASD Design is in a bit of a rough patch, though. 1 health becomes 0 as Onion. Unfortunately, rough scenario. No one can really find the pursuit they're looking for. Obviously, in the back line, Graveyard's getting a little bit of pressure, but it's not going to attribute to a whole lot. When only Soulsay can really get back there, Pella gets rid of another. 1 tick already through here. ASC Design is able to get a little closer back to being in the fight, but to be honest, they might not even refight here.
I think with ASC Design, yeah, no, if they climbed up into that window, they might have, but you do see Soulsay just contesting to the point now. ASC Design back in, but I don't necessarily know if this is the right idea here, Hunter, because now that you lost your tank, you basically just gave up the Archer's hold unless you can somehow find a good kill here.
Yeah, 100%, but in this situation, I mean, to be fair, you take a risk like that, it's high risk, high reward. You hold that, your beautiful territory, you're building up to more of these ultimates, but unfortunately now, they go down. ASC Design is really far off of that ultimate. Pella's getting closer and closer, manually about to have the first one of this set. And now, they have the archway already. They're already past it, and they're going to be able to hold on past it as well.
Yeah, but this is also an area still where if you lose a fight here in Zokorp, you could easily just be sent right back to Arches here. So Manly having this Bull and Kiwi having this Nano, these are going to be 2 really big ultras, especially at the other side. Really doesn't have anything. A huge ante on the AST though.
Yep, big as one after another. Nano ends up working out beautifully. Manually gets rid of 1, gets rid of 2, gets rid of 3, gets rid of 4, clearing out the house. And they will keep this bombshell moving forward. This ASC design gonna go over to the Diva once again.
Yeah, right now, I mean, you're just kind of seeing ASC Design, while they are playing, I think, a good game so far, I think Pella's just kind of outclassing them at the moment on this Winston, but the DPS line as well, Manually and Talisman, this has really been a good map for them here. They've each had their standoff or shine out moments. That last fight right there was definitely Manually's moment to shine.
100% it was, and Pella's in the backline, well knowing they're gonna best y'all here. You want to cause as much separation as humanly possible. ASC Design knocked out a mech. Even though Pella isn't taking care of Azraf at this moment, they are taking every bit of attention away. The ult is no good here. They're gonna get taken down, and now there's gonna be 5:15 around on this clock here as they're gonna finish out the point. Soulsay taken out, Pella gets 3, and now with 5 minutes left, I mean, what is there to say? They are set up so beautifully for this 3rd point.
They're set up good, but right now, I mean, Kings Row is one of those maps where you can see these time banks just be whittled away time after time again. All that Young and Beautiful really needs here is just a team fight win. They just need something to stabilize themselves here, because right now you're starting to see the momentum, the train, Hunter. It's not being stopped right now as Graveyard finds Soulsay.
Yeah, and you see basically, both being used here as they're trying to find something. Nobody finds anything, trying to find something on that bolo shot, getting Diddly Squad, unfortunately. Nice hit there by Graveyard, but no finish activated. And now it could be on the back of this Nano from Kiwi. A lot of bodies getting low, and Nano is ready for Pella. Pella's gonna be ready for this next dive. Nano's going to be used, and honestly, they will be able to potentially close this out right here and now.
I love that Zokorp decided to fall back for a moment here. There's a Nano out on the Pella, and they immediately focus in on that backline, but that backline, nowhere to be found. Azraf, though, they are easily found.
Oh, yeah, they're being chased down hard, but eventually ASD Design goes off the side, tries to get the quick reset, but honestly, ladies and gentlemen, it is not going to matter. 2 becomes 1, becomes nothing, with nearly 4 minutes on the clock still. Zokorp moving up to 2-0. And are only 1 map away from moving to the next level in these playoffs. And right now, it's looking like potentially nothing can stop them.
Yeah, Zokorp, I mean, they are really just showing us right now that they are a complete team here. Everyone on this team played incredibly well. I mean, Pella, again, a really good standout map from on the Winston. Like I came into this map saying, while Winston I thought is still very good, I think Diva would have been a little bit better, but no, Pella showed us throughout that map that even into a Zarya and a Diva there towards the end, the Winston is the go-to tank right now, it seems, on Kings Row. I mean, they played an excellent map, 25-6 throughout that one there. I mean, ASC Design still had a solid map themselves, 15-8, but it really comes down to that DPS line here. Like I said, Zokorp's DPS line really had some standout moments there in that map. And looking at just the kills, 42 kills combined for them, while on the other side, only able to muster up about 25. That's a big difference right there, Hunter.
No, it's a massive difference indeed when you're in this situation where it's so incredibly important to die at the least amount as possible. I mean, that feels like a very redundant thing to have to say, but it is genuinely so important. We see the big differences in a lot of these leaderboards and scoreboards through the deaths. So in a situation where if you're Pella, you only died once throughout the first map. You go to second round, Pella does go down a total of 6 times, and you kind of saw the differences on that first round. But the moment they logged in, the moment they got themselves going, it was really hard to stop them. And that's apparent from Azraf, ended up going down 10 times. Soulsay going down 9 times. These DPS that are just being caught out in pretty much every single fight.
Yeah, and Hunter, just to build upon that fact, you said it right there, 10 deaths for one, 9 deaths for the other. Well, Zokorp's DPS line combined only had 10 deaths that entire map right there. It kind of tells you where that gap was really starting to be made there in that lineup, but still, just a good map there for Zokorp as they're really building some momentum up here. And coming into the series, Hunter, I don't think me or you necessarily expected to be seeing, I mean, I think we could imagine this scoreline, but I don't think we would have thought we would have seen the scoreline in the way that we're seeing it right now, with Zokorp absolutely dominating right now. Young and Beautiful, we've kind of highlighted, has struggled at points throughout this season. This might not necessarily be the best time to be hitting that struggle button again.
Yeah, honestly, that's kind of the situation that we're in right now, where it's going to be a really tough one to pull back, but we have seen how good this young and beautiful squad has been. We have seen everything that they have been able to do. And I trust that this team could do some very amazing things, but they got to start it going to this next and potentially final map. You got to go in, get all the momentum, and honestly, with it being Esperanza, this is going to be one of those maps where they could go in, get a lot of momentum early on, because we haven't seen a lot of comebacks this season when it comes to play. It's been very basic in the fact that I think maybe all but maybe one time, whoever got that first cap on push won that map.
Yeah, especially because most of the time we've been seeing Runasapi, and that is a map where you can really win it in the first 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes of the game, and then kind of play 50-50. Esperanza is a little bit of a different map. You can get big leads and watch them disappear in 1 or 2 team fights here. But we do know Young and Beautiful decide they don't want to see the Wrecking Ball here, and hey, I'm with them. This is one of Wrecking Ball's best maps. However, that just leaves Winston right there. I think no matter what, you were kind of in a lose-lose situation here when it came to what tank you wanted to ban out, whether it be Winston or Wrecking Ball, because you're leaving Pella wide open to play the rest here. Or you never know, maybe we see Dion come in here for a map here just to try to catch this Young and Beautiful team off guard a little bit, banning out a dive tank to play potentially maybe something a little more brawly or pokey.
I mean, the possibility is 100% there for that to go down. I don't know whether it will come to form, because if it has worked this well the first 2 maps, it feels like there's almost no reason to have it change up, unless it's a situation where we go in and we're in a scenario where some teams will have, hey, you are designated to play this map, and that map, and that doesn't really change unless we are in very drastic situations, which, to be fair, if I finish King's Row with almost 4 minutes on the map, I might be more willing to say, hey, this is working, let's run this back, let's make it happen, let's try to end this in 3-0 fashion, and if it works, amazing. We get that momentum, we get ourselves an early night, we go eat some food, have a good time. And to be honest, if I'm Dion, obviously, I want to get my map, but if my team's going to go win 3-0, if that doesn't happen, I mean, I can't really complain in that situation.
Yeah, so Wrecking Ball being our first ban, looks like Zokorp really is kind of telling us what they might be playing here. Dion staying on the bench, Pella staying in here, so that kind of tells us that the Zokorp team going to be sticking with dive here and probably going right back over to that Winston, because Reaper not going to be seeing this map at all. Reaper, I mean, Hunter, me and you've talked about a lot, especially in South America. Reaper in a good spot right now, getting played a decent amount, especially going up against one of their big counters in Winston. You would normally expect them to come out on top of that. Well, you get rid of the Reaper here. Winston now has a lot more free range, do whatever they want. And with how Pella's been playing this series, it's going to be really, really hard, in my opinion, for Young and Beautiful to really slow them down here.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult in this situation, but it is extremely doable as well. So I'm curious to see what ends up going down in this scenario, as Young and Beautiful keeping in that lineup of Azroth and Solsei, which have struggled a little bit. They've had a somewhat decent time of it. They've had their shining moments, but it's been such a level of consistency that we have seen from the other side of things. Manually and Tailsman, honestly, I talked about it before when I saw a post from FACEIT of like, hey, build this team, and I would say this is a top 2 DPS duo right now in FACEIT Master for North America. And hell, in Master Tier across the entirety of all the regions, I'd put them probably in the top 3. Honestly, I think this is an extremely talented lineup, and the fact that you have 2 DPS that are constantly in the fight, that more often than not win their 1v1s, I mean, having a tank that can be dominant, having a support that can be dominant, that is awesome, but having a DPS, 2 of them at that fact, that can turn a fight on their own, that is an incredible thing to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get this map started, thank you, CGL, for the raid.
Yeah,
welcome everyone to FACEIT League. Playoffs just started here. You have Zokorp and Young and Beautiful. Zokorp, formerly Daystar here, has been dominant so far this series, but coming out of the gate, Hunter, kind of what I truly expect to see here. Pella on the Winston. A pause, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll go in.
It looks like Young and Beautiful actually using one of their timeouts here. This is a Young and Beautiful pause, so maybe someone's mouse died, someone's internet is slow or something. But we can, yeah, looks like we have our answer right there. Azroth might have had a little bit of an internet problem, but let's just take a look at the composition we have right now. No big shocks here for uh, Zokorp, the Winston that Pella has been playing, really, Pella's entire series, whether it's on the Winston or the Wrecking Ball, has been incredible. You won't be seeing the Wrecking Ball this map because, hey, banned out. Kiwi, though, I feel like Kiwi and Graveyard, you talked about a really good support lineup here for Zokorp. I think Kiwi has been the unsung hero for this team, has been doing a great job on that support role. We haven't really talked about the supports for either side a lot throughout this series, and Hunter, me and you always kind of say it's when we're not talking about supports, it means they're doing their job and they're doing it really well. Anion and Neptune, they've been doing a good job. It's just that their team's kind of been struggling here so far.
Yeah, it has been a little bit of a struggle throughout today, at the end of the day. But Onion and Neptune doing what they realistically, I think, can a majority of these fights. Because, again, I'll bring up Talisman, and mainly, again, Talisman especially going after that backline very aggressively. Pella has also gone very aggressively, albeit has been shut down a few times. But when you're in a situation where you go something like the Kirko and the Lucio, you can only be expected to do so much. When you're on the Ana, you're able to do things like sleep them away, hit them with the antis. Graveyard is able to bring in a ton of healing in these engagements. And this is a situation where two teams just have two different styles. One, which is the older traditional style of, hey, Kirko, Lucio, we run it down, we think we can get it. But for Graveyard and Kiwi, they're two characters that are like, hey, let's stay out of this. We don't need to be in direct engagement. We are here to support the other three and keep them going as much as we can.
And right now, you bring up a good fact. The fact that we have normally or mostly seen Young and Beautiful playing this kind of old backline you'd be seeing a lot throughout the regular season. And again, we talked about it. That Graveyard on this Wuyang is now playable here in FACEIT. It wasn't in the regular season. Now for playoffs, it is here. And you're really starting to see, I think, a big difference in that as we lose Solse now.
We have a bit of a Thanos snap happening. So essentially what I think has happened here is they go in, someone went ahead and I think disconnected because I don't think we got Azra back. So honestly, smart call, someone disconnects, timer restarts. Restart map, honestly, low-key, would be nice. But the other two will get back. Everyone's going to have to kind of hang out, though, if you're Young and Beautiful. Hopefully, both of their DPS get back in and we get this figured out. But, you know, it's the problem. Internet issues, they happen. Such is life. But hopefully they can get it figured out momentarily because, I'll be honest, Dix, I don't really want to see the 5v4. I got to be honest.
Yeah, I don't want to either, but I mean, right now, it's just been a really good series here for Zokorp. So even up the 5v4, I think we would still kind of see the same performance from them here. Young and Beautiful, though, I mean, they've had their moments. I mean, you could talk about going all the way back to the second point of Samoa, where they really were able to slow down Pella on that Wrecking Ball. But once Zokorp got control of the point, it was really hard for just Young and Beautiful to really do anything there. Once you have the Zokorp team really find that momentum that they truly need, it's really hard for them to give it up. You saw it a little bit there on Kings Row, as on defense and especially on offense, because after they won that first point, Hunter, I don't think they truly ever lost another fight from that point on.
No, I don't really think they did either. And it's kind of incredible, honestly, the way that ended up going down for them. But this is a squad that's able to carry on a ton of momentum when you're in this situation. But now when you're in a map like Push, it is really important to get that momentum really early on. Try to get that original checkpoint. And it's a very unique map when it comes to this situation, because this is the one where there is truly a surrounding of high ground. You can kind of see that a little bit on New Queen Tree, but it is more apparent on Esperanza than any other Push map. And that's why I think a lot of teams have some difficulty getting this checkpoint as opposed to some of the others.
Oh, absolutely. And especially because you see it a lot, especially with what we're seeing Zokorp play here with a Winston. The fact that they can just play high ground for fights, and then once they win or get that one-man advantage, go down to that low ground and really bring that fight to everyone. And normally you see that happen a lot here. Well, it's what we call on a map like Runasapi, with those 50-50 fights. But on this time, it's not really 50-50. You're okay with giving up some time, giving up some space, but you're pretty confident you're going to be able to win the fight. Something on Runasapi is 50-50 because, hey, you could win the fight, you could lose the fight. It doesn't necessarily matter because you're getting rid of time banks here. This map, though, I think it does kind of matter if you lose the fight, because the other team still being able to push that bot back. So a lot of those times, you really do have to kind of press up here a little bit. It looks like believe I saw Azrup is back in, so maybe we'll be getting started with this map here soon. But again, looking at the competition here, Manly and Tracer, they've been doing really well so far on the series. I mean, my bad, Manly and Talisman. Talisman's been doing really good on the Tracer here, really doing a good job of what you want your Tracer to be doing. Getting those flanking off angles, really annoying your backline, and cleaning up tanks when needed. And so far, they've been doing a really good job.
No, been doing a fantastic job. And as you say yourself, hopefully going to get in here shortly. I don't really see a timer anymore on the page, so don't know what's really cooking over there. But
something's going on.
We are getting it figured out. Come play, bro. Telvin really wants Alex involved here. But we'll see what's happening because we are technically 7 minutes into the map, but we haven't actually gotten to the first fight quite yet.
7 minutes into the map and 9 seconds into the map, technically.
Yep, and to be fair play, smart for Young and Beautiful to use every timeout, every minute available to them to make sure they get all 5 members in and ready to go. Do what you got to do. Backs against the wall here. Azref has now left the game, and I think is going to rejoin momentarily again, as hopefully this gets settled.
Yeah, I mean, that 5th character slot showed back up. Nope, it's gone.
And back.
Is back. So maybe
we gotta decide here, ladies and gentlemen. We gotta find out whether will he, won't he.
I mean, but right now, I mean, Young and Beautiful, like I've been saying. I mean, they've struggled so far throughout this series, but they have shown us those moments that really gives me some hope that they're gonna be able to turn this around here, especially if you can shut down Pella, because I think right now Pella is the main force here for the Zokorp team, and Pella's just done everything, really. Like, yeah, we can highlight Talisman and Manly for having those pop-off moments, but Pella just being a constant space taker is something that is not necessarily talked about enough here, but looks like Azref is back here. They are putting ours in the chat.
Hey,
so Hunter, maybe we can stop yapping and actually get into potentially our final map of this series, which I think if you're Young and Beautiful, falling 3-0 would be a really, really big shock to you in this first round.
It would be a shock, but to be fair, anything can happen when you reach the playoffs. I say every single time we go and see a playoff situation, everyone standing goes to 0-0. It is a complete reset of the situation where it feels like literally anything can happen. But we're ready to get this one properly started away, as obviously Zokorp is going to have a lot more ground to work with here, is able to set up a little bit more to their design here, as Young and Beautiful as they're back over on the Cassidy. They ideally want to run on things, but honestly, there's not a ton of people to actually run on with this comp.
Yeah, the only one you can really run onto is Pella, but they can just jump out. That's the biggest problem here with this Young and Beautiful comp is that, yeah, like you said, you want to run onto someone, but it's very hard when the entirety of the other team can run away faster.
Yeah, Pella knocked off the high ground, getting a hell of pressure. Will get out momentarily, but it's still getting a lot of pressure. Sitting extremely low, doesn't get burnt away, though. That is a golden opportunity that has been lost here, as AST being burnt away, able to stay alive a little bit longer, as a minute in already. And as you see, Zokorp going to keep pushing on. You got to have to back off Young and Beautiful.
Young and Beautiful is really trying to find that first pick, and that's exactly what you want to get rid of right there. Manly on that Freya can just get so much damage here, allowing Pella, allowing Talisman to really clean up a lot of these picks here. But now, though, down that main source of damage, Pella maybe has to go into overdrive here.
Ooh, and that's a weird trade. AS Design gets rid of 2, though. Graveyard Talisman hanging around, but it looks like at the end of the day, we might find some stabilization. Points trying to go the other way, as Kiwi and Manually are alive and regrouping, as lead should proudly get taken.
Lead gonna be taken here, and it seems like Young and Beautiful finally trying to find their footing here and off to a good start. ASC Design, the fact they did die in that engagement was huge. They were very, very low, and I don't think Zokorp recognized that at a moment there. ASC Design had no bubbles and about 50 health. That fight could have gone a lot differently, but Kiwi has Nano ready to go here. Pella has been the main source of them, or the main Nano injector for this entire team here, but Talisman not that far away from their own pulse bomb. I would not be surprised if you also see the Nano go over to the Tracer, but no, it's right back on the Pella.
Yep, and this time being kept back, has to run for the hills, and Pella is in a living nightmare. Take it down. And now, this is the first, Solsei goes down to Kiwi, as eventually Neptune getting a little bit of revenge. This is the first time we've seen the momentum really start to go Young and Beautiful's way since, like, partway through map 1.
Yes, that's the start of the second point on Samoa. This is the first time we've really seen Young and Beautiful truly look like they're in control of this map here. But you just use both your support ultimates. Granted, you got the Nano from the other side, which sometimes you could really say is about the same as using 2 support ultimates here. Deadeye out from Azure to buy some space here, but that bot, like I said, Thunder, just kind of getting picked away. Nice boop there, but not going to lead to much.
Yeah, not particularly, but Pulse Bomb ready to go here for Talisman. Blinking below. Has to be forced to hit the recall. Solsei is in a good position as well to hit, potentially get the Pulse Bomb hanging around behind. Looking for the perfect target, wants to steal the bot away. Looking for an explosion is Graveyard, hoping for a little bit of care, looking for a stun. Doesn't quite get anything as Pella once again has to run for the hills. AFC Design has a grab ready. There's a Pulse Bomb tied up with it. And Dex, no ultimates that can stop it.
Pulse Bomb out there from Solsei. Gonna be able to find Kiwi. Graveyard will trade it out. Actually trade out too. So it's an even fight across the board, Hunter. Somehow, some way, Zokorp might actually come out on top of this fight.
You could see a grab though. ASC Design did it before, very boldly, but now last one alive, all they can do is go and die on this point. Try to see something with them. Does not happen though, as they lose on that charge and unfortunately no longer have a combo.
But, I mean, we've seen the grab in the past not need a combo to really win fight. So you're walking into 3 on the other side. Manually probably having the biggest one, in my opinion, here with the Deadeye, just being able to buy some space. And you see that card about halfway now to that lead here and rounding the corner. I mean, you're one team fight away from getting this forward spawns here if you're Zokorp. And that is exactly what you want with this comp.
That was exactly what you want. And lead is being ready to be taken over. In fact, it's going to be taken 4-3. But what's important is getting that checkpoint unlocked. It's 3 meters away, 2 meters away. Eventually, a little bit of contention as you could look for a solo grab here if you really wanted to get rid of somebody in particular, like Pella, who's more than likely going to get super aggro here, playing up. And you see, they drop down. They're holding on to their jump to the moment where it's truly needed to get out of a rough situation where, unfortunately, Young and Beautiful, the way their comp is and the way they're scheduled, they have to give up this checkpoint, and AC Design goes down.
And this is the worst case scenario here, Hunter, because this is what I talked about. This first point here, the high grounds being so different that you could really just see this attacking team. Once you see the Young and Beautiful engage back in, they're just going to fall back to that high ground. There's really nothing else they need to do here, especially with having 4 ultimates ready to go on the other side, which I imagine Zokorp knows about. They're going to wait for Young and Beautiful to use their ultimates before they use theirs here.
No, 100%. Why wouldn't you? And here comes that Deadeye. Manually gets rid of 2! What? You can't do them like that. You can't do the support line dirty. And now we're going to get to 100 meters and counting. The lead extends further and further away. This is a must-win fight at this point for the squad, because if this lead gets any extended further, it's going to be so tough to pull it back.
I mean, good news here for Young and Beautiful. You're going to have 5 ultimates ready to go. You just have to survive the ultimates that are coming out here now.
Yeah, you're trying your darndest to. Deadeye ends up being used as though gets slipped out, and now 10 health gets a little bit of care, and you're fine. And now here comes the grab of the century, comes in, Pulse Bomb gets rid of 1, ASC Design finishing off another. And finally, it looks like a fight win's gonna go in their favor, but the damage has been done and then some.
The damage is done, and I mean, you're now staring down the barrel of an 80-meter deficit. Nice stall out there by Talisman, making sure that everyone on their team will get those forward spawns. And Hunter, you can honestly see him really try to get back to this high ground here very quickly to get a good contest. And it looks like they're just not going to be able to. They're regrouping as a whole team here, so they'll be taking the fight here at the initial starting point. But that was a costly fight there for Young and Beautiful. But honestly, Hunter, it was one you need to be costly there. You still have 2 ultimates here, both your support ultimates. That one you'll fight last time, but Graveyard playing too far out of position.
Yeah, we've seen that a couple times. Pulse Bomb comes out as well. Talisman missing. This might be a bit of a fumble fight here for Zokorp, as Pella looking for another dive. Is right around the corner from the ult. Doesn't get any damage off that dive though, as it looks like I think he's just gonna have to let this one go. And a Primal Rage, I think what was gonna say it'd be a waste, because the only person you can really get at this point is Neptune. You get Neptune. ASC Design sitting incredibly low. Maybe I'm a little wrong here. Maybe Pella's cooking a little bit, but eventually going to get stunned out, get ragdolled into the wall, and unfortunately that kill isn't really going to mean anything.
It's not going to mean anything other than just the time wasted there, which, I mean, you could say something about there, but
yeah.
Right now, Pella's going to be able to get back pretty quickly. You still have to deal with the 2 ultimates on the other side of the support. Solsei, though, has a Pulse Bomb ready to go. Azruf, though, finding Kiwi out there, Hunter, I cannot describe how big of a pick that is here for Young and Beautiful.
Massive. You stop that nano charge, that backline becomes really easy to run into with that Graveyard and manually. Now considering a Russian, Graveyard gets deleted, but so does Azrov as well. And now Pella is going to have to try to just hang around the point. Is probably going to have to take the L here momentarily, trying to hide away, get some care. Manually gets rid of Neptune. No more beat left in the exchange, which means you can run and just get a last-second touch and take a big reset. For Zokorp, they should be able to return and win this fight.
There's the stall out there from Talisman, who is low on health, but Neptune dying there was honestly a tragedy for Young and Beautiful. That beat was going to be invested just to make sure they could really get these forward spawns here, especially with 2 minutes left to go, Hunter, and still over a double the amount difference here in just meterage. You really need to get those forward spawns then and now. Granted, you have a pulse bomb still, and you built up to a grab, but you look at the other side, they're not lacking for ultimates either.
Yeah, definitely not. Now this beat can be really important here for Neptune. Gotta be used at the right place at the right time, especially with there being a nano around the corner thrown onto Pella. Pella not having a ton of success thus far with it. And he's got to back out. B comes out. Neptune nearly goes down. Grab goes solo over on the manually, but ASC Design dies to be able to make that happen. Now Pella's got to try to get in there with a pulse bomb out. Doesn't stick onto anybody. It's going to be a fight win here for Young and Beautiful. A must-win fight as Azrov goes down again, so they should be able to cap this point, though.
You're going to cap this point, but here's the biggest problem. Azrov ASC Design not going to be able to take those forward spawns. They have the long luck back here now, and you immediately just see Young and Mule say, yeah, we're not going to contest this. We have to fall back. We have to regroup. ASC Design, though, makes the swap here over to Diva Hunter. Is it a little bit too late for them? That's going to be the biggest question here, especially with only 40 seconds left to go. Time will tell, but you're still down 70 meters.
Yeah, and it's got to start right here, right now. You cannot afford another loss, and I literally mean another fight loss is pretty much game over for this series. So say, coming up closer and closer to trying to make something happen, but Azrov is the only one with an actual ult online on you right around the corner. Pella hanging about. Azrov might be in the wrong place at the wrong time, though, ends up being forced away. As Graveyard needs to try to find the perfect target, and Dex, I don't know if there is a perfect target, as Consider Rush comes through, and Pella being taken care of very quickly.
Here's the thing, if you're Zokorp, you just back off that, you especially back off Kiwi dying. You have this big lead. It's still in your hands right now, but losing members like this is not good because it's really throwing in a one-fight territory no matter what. However, you look at what Young and Beautiful has. They're going to have both their DPS ultimates and nothing else. You're going to have a Primal Rage. You're going to have the Wu Yang ultimate here if you're Zokorp. You're still in a good spot, but no one touching that card. No one pushing that card. Pella aggressing in. They have that Primal Rage. They feel safe.
Yeah, and you see that, looking for the stun as Riff ends up getting taken out of it, and now Pella going all in to get rid of them. Gonna push them back all the way. Talisman helpful to help finish them off. So say, finds a pulse, finds a manually in the same process of trying to bring this back on the round, but it's just not happening. Talisman, they're gonna clean away. Neptune on you, only ones remaining. The support duo can't hit the retouch though. Zokorp takes the 3-0, moves on to the next round, and now Young and Beautiful gotta fight for their lives in the lower bracket.
And honestly, a really, really good series here for Zokorp. I mean, hey, first game under the new branding, and you have a 3-0. You have to be thinking, Hunter, remember what happened with this Zokorp squad in South America last season? Yep. It could really happen here again this season in North America, where they run the gauntlet here. Young and Beautiful, though, they had their moments in this series. The back half of this map here, Esperanza, they looked better. They were figuring it out, but they just didn't give themselves enough time. And we talked about there a little bit, especially after Zokorp got that first point cap. They didn't lose a fight up until they started rallying the home stretch, and Young and Beautiful after that. It was going to be very, very costly for them to do a lot. Not getting the forward spawns with about 2 minutes, or about, I think, 2.5, 3 minutes, I think really killed them there. Yeah, they were able to get them eventually, but you needed them a little bit earlier, and Neptune dying with beat, I think, was the difference maker here, all the way back with about 3 minutes left to go in our final map. However, again, like I said, Zokorp, this team looks really, really hard right now. Almost unstoppable throughout the series. Pella looked great. That DPS line was all over the place. And Kiwi and Graveyard, Hunter, like I always say, if we don't talk about the supports, they're doing a good job and they're doing their job. We were talking about Graveyard and Kiwi tonight because they were doing an incredible job.
No, they're doing a phenomenal job that entire series. I cannot stress enough just how consistent this lineup really is from the squad. This was one of the tougher teams going into the playoffs, and I think they cemented that fact here and now. For Young and Beautiful, it's going to be a journey to make it back in the situation. They're going to end up taking on, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to take on the loser of Boot Troop Kintsugi, which is starting right now as we speak. Young Midori, Jesus. Midori and Iliad Artemis are going at it right now, if I'm not mistaken. They're on the second map right now, Watch Point Gibraltar. I don't know who won the first map. I can check the stats and find out. Midori definitely won the first map, looking at those stats, so that's nice. But an interesting...
Do we have the Midori 5 map thing again this
God,
playoff?
please,
Let's find out.
not again. But a game that definitely didn't go 5 maps. The former alternate / Elements of Harmony taking out Emote down mid 3-0. There's some close points in there by the looks of it, but I mean, Elements of Harmony is one of the best teams in the entire division right now, and unfortunately for Emote down mid, they have been on a bit of a downward spiral the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, they struggled out of the gate, losing their first 2. Then they won 7 straight, and I think me and you were even talking about the fact that this Emote down mid team might be just almost unstoppable, the best team here. And then they had a late season skid, and we were hoping that they were really going to be able to correct it here, but it looks like they're not off to a good start here in the playoffs. Granted, they have one more life here, so a lot is left to be told here, Hunter. But in this series here, I mean, Zokorp just came out of the gate firing on all cylinders, while Young and Beautiful, it seemed like they were slow to start every map, and it didn't necessarily help them out.
Yeah, it wasn't really the most helpful situations, but you said it yourself, it's double elimination. There's time to bounce back. Maybe if they end up going against either Kintsugi or Boot Troop, if Kintsugi pull that one away. I think that will be a really interesting game to check out as well. Obviously, we won't know of what's going on quite yet until both of these games are done. Obviously, Emote down mid being in the lower bracket, they would take on the loser of Iliad Artemis and Midori, which Midori has been really consistent throughout the season, but Artemis has had really good punch-up potential. I think they've done a really good job throughout this season, compared to especially how they did last season, where it didn't go the way they wanted, but they ended up making it through this time, and I'm excited for them. But the one thing I say, because obviously we'll try to wrap this up shortly, but the one thing I'm looking forward to is seeing how Boot Troop does within the playoffs, because I'll stress about this more when we eventually get to cover them in the playoffs, but the team that went from being almost completely taken out last season, they managed to get it through regulation, and now they're here. They're the number 1 seed in the playoffs. They could go on this amazing run and potentially win the whole thing, and I think that would be one of the best storylines we have had throughout this entire year when it comes to this esport, honestly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially with this season here, it's been a great one for a lot of teams. And we have, I mean, a couple returning faces from last season's playoffs, but a whole bunch of new ones. Like you said, Iliad Artemis, Boot Troop's in here. Kintsugi is in here. Yeah, granted, Zokorp is a new name, but they are still a team from last year. There's a lot of new teams, and that was really fun to watch, especially as the season was winding down. The fact that that 8th, 7th spot was really up for grabs by a lot of teams, and I think we got a really good one here. And Hunter, even with the teams that have already lost, I'm not counting them out yet. And there's a couple sneaky teams in here that even if they lose their first round, I could see them making a little bit of a run here. But hey, that's what FACEIT is all about.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's about. I could see some of these teams making an amazing run. Kintsugi is the one that comes to mind. I think they've had a really good finish this season. I think momentum's on their side. I think they could give a Boot Troop a real run for their money. Is it going to happen? Well, you'll have to find somebody who's co-streaming it, because I got to be honest, I don't know who is, which is a bit of a shame.
I think Bolskunk is
Bolskunk, yeah,
co-streaming the Kintsugi game.
Yeah, I think he might have still been signed up and just ended up going back to back. So that, honestly, goated. But unfortunately, that's not what we're doing. Unfortunate situation. But of course, we appreciate y'all being here. We appreciate y'all going to have a good time. Obviously, we don't really have an announcement as to when we'll be back on here next. We know there's some South American playoff games going on Monday. I think there might be some playoff games for North America coming up Saturday, I think. Yeah, there's quite a few going on then. So obviously, we'll talk about what we want to do for those. But, expect us to keep covering these playoffs. Expect to keep having a good time. Gonna be able to crown some new champions throughout these regions. And while it might not be for a spot in OWCS, it is a spot at glory. It is a spot at money.
Yep.
It is a situation where maybe more than anything else, it is momentum to have as a team going into whatever comes next, because unfortunately we don't really know what's going to come next when it comes to the FACEIT OWCS integration. That's, if we knew, we would tell you right now. Unfortunately, we do not.
Yeah, but hey, like Hunter said, there's gonna be a lot of action coming up here. You're not gonna want to miss. There's a lot of other co-streamers that are gonna be doing it, but I mean, just make sure you tune back into ours, because it will be a hell of a time here and a lot more action to come up. Not only in North America, but we'll go to South America as well.
Yeah, we appreciate you a lot. Have yourselves a fantastic night. We'll see you later this week for some more FACEIT League playoff action. See ya.